Have you ever noticed how your life is not actually heavy, but your mind feels heavy every single day? How you smile in front of people, you act normal, you try to stay strong, but inside you feel tired, irritated, and mentally exhausted for no clear reason. The truth is, you are not weak. You are not broken, you are simply carrying too much. You are carrying people who drain your peace, memories that keep hurting you, thoughts that never stop talking, and emotions that control your mood like a remote control. And Buddhism teaches something that can completely change your life. Real happiness is not something you find outside. It is something you return to when you finally let go of what is poisoning your soul. In this video, I'm going to show you 7 things you must drop if you want to become mentally strong and truly happy. Because the moment you release what is heavy, you will finally feel light again. 1. Attachment to people who drain your peace. One of the biggest reasons people feel mentally weak is because they stay emotionally connected to people who constantly disturb their peace. In Buddhism, attachment is one of the strongest chains because it makes you hold on even when your heart is tired. You keep giving your time, love, and energy to someone who keeps taking from you, but never truly fills you back. And slowly, without even realizing it, your mind becomes heavy, your confidence becomes low, and your happiness starts disappearing. When you get attached to someone, you stop seeing reality clearly. You don't see their actions the way they truly are. Instead, you see the version of them you created in your mind. You start expecting loyalty, kindness, understanding, and consistency, even when they have shown you again and again that they cannot give you that. And every time they disappoint you, it hurts more, because you are not only hurting from what they did, but also from the hope you kept alive. Mental strength is not about fighting people, arguing, or trying to prove your worth. Mental strength is having the courage to step back and walk away quietly, without begging for closure, without waiting for an apology, without needing them to finally realize your value, because true peace is not found in forcing someone to treat you right. True peace is found in choosing yourself the moment you realize the connection is damaging your mind and your heart. You must understand this deeply. Not everyone who is close to you is good for you. Some people come into your life to teach you a lesson. Some come to expose what you still need to heal. And some people come only to drain you slowly, because they cannot handle your growth. Letting go in Buddhism is not coldness, it is clarity. When you release the people who steal your energy, your mind becomes lighter, your sleep becomes better, and your heart becomes calmer. And when you finally stop fearing loneliness, you become unstoppable because now your happiness is no longer in someone else's hands. 2. The need to control everything. One of the biggest reasons people lose their peace is because they try to control everything. They want life to go exactly the way they planned. They want people to behave the way they expect. They want situations to be fair, predictable, and perfect. But Buddhism teaches a powerful truth. Life is always changing, and when you cling too tightly to control, you create suffering inside your own mind. The need for control often comes from fear. Fear of losing something, fear of being disappointed, fear of uncertainty. So your mind keeps trying to manage everything: your future, other people's choices, the outcome of every situation. But the more you try to control what you cannot control, the more anxious, frustrated, and mentally exhausted you become. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. No matter how tightly you squeeze, it still slips away. Mental strength is not forcing life to obey you. Mental strength is understanding what is in your power and what is not. You can control your actions, your attitude, and your decisions. But you cannot control how people feel, how life changes, or what tomorrow brings. And the moment you accept this truth, something beautiful happens. Your mind becomes calmer. You stop fighting reality. You stop wasting energy on things you cannot change. In Buddhism, peace comes from flowing with life, not fighting it. It does not mean you stop trying or stop working hard. It means you stop attaching your happiness to a perfect outcome. You still do your best, but you also learn to let go of the result, because real happiness is not "life always goes my way." Real happiness is, even when life doesn't go my way, my mind stays steady. When you drop the need to control everything, you feel lighter, you breathe easier, you stop overthinking, and you finally start living with trust, patience, and inner strength. 4. The ego that needs to be right. One of the biggest reasons people lose their peace is not because life is too hard. It's because their ego is too loud. The ego is that part inside you that always wants to feel important, always wants to be respected, always wants to be seen, and most of all, always wants to be right. And in Buddhism, the ego is one of the main causes of suffering because it makes everything personal. It makes every small situation feel like a battle, every disagreement feel like an attack, and every criticism feel like a wound. When your ego controls you, you start living like you are constantly defending yourself. You defend your opinions, you defend your image, you defend your pride, you defend your status. Even when you are wrong, the ego will still push you to fight because it hates the feeling of losing. And this is why so many people stay angry for days, carry grudges for years, and destroy relationships that could have been peaceful. Not because the situation was serious, but because their ego refused to let it go. The ego makes you believe that being right will make you happy, but it doesn't. It only makes you tired. Because the truth is, you can win the argument and still lose your peace. You can prove your point and still feel empty. You can get the last word and still feel hurt inside. Ego keeps people trapped in a cycle of conflict because it makes them chase victory instead of peace. Buddhism teaches that the ego is not your true self. It is an illusion. It is a fake identity built from your fears, your insecurities, your past experiences, and your need for validation. The ego makes you say, "How dare they talk to me like that?" The ego makes you say, "They must respect me." The ego makes you say, "I will not forgive them until they suffer." But the more you feed the ego, the more pain it creates in your mind. A person with a heavy ego gets offended easily. They feel attacked easily. They become jealous easily. They become angry quickly, and they spend their life reacting to everything. This is not strength. This is weakness hidden behind pride, because when a small comment can ruin your mood, it means your mind is not free. When someone's opinion can steal your peace, it means you are still controlled. Real mental strength is not proving yourself. Real strength is self-control. It is being so secure within yourself that you don't need to fight for respect. You don't need to explain yourself to everyone. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to correct every person. You don't need to show people that you are better than them. A strong mind chooses peace over pride. Sometimes silence is stronger than 1,000 words. Sometimes walking away is stronger than winning. Sometimes letting people misunderstand you is stronger than arguing with them. Because when you are truly confident, you don't need to convince anyone of anything. You know who you are, you know your value, and that is enough. The ego also creates another poison: comparison. It makes you look at other people's success and feel small. It makes you look at someone's attention and feel jealous. It makes you want to show off, not because you are happy, but because you want to feel superior. This creates constant stress in the heart, because now your happiness depends on being above someone else. And that type of happiness is fake, temporary, and unstable. Buddhism teaches humility, not because humility makes you powerless, but because humility makes you free. When you become humble, you stop needing to prove yourself. You stop needing external validation. You stop getting hurt by small things. You stop carrying unnecessary anger. Humility gives you inner strength because it removes the heavy burden of ego. And the most powerful truth is this: the ego will always try to protect itself, even if it destroys you. It will keep you in toxic relationships because you want to win. It will keep you in arguments because you want to prove. It will keep you stuck in anger because you want to punish. But your peace is priceless. And once you realize that, you stop feeding the ego. So drop the ego that needs to be right all the time. Drop the pride that keeps you angry. Drop the need to always get the last word. Drop the desire to always be respected by everyone. Because the moment you let go of ego, your mind becomes quiet, your heart becomes lighter, your life becomes simple. You start responding instead of reacting. You start living instead of fighting. And that is real Buddhism. That is real strength. That is real happiness. 5. Holding on to painful memories like they define you. One of the deepest reasons people struggle to feel mentally strong and truly happy is because they are still carrying old pain in their heart, like it is part of their identity. Their body is living in the present, but their mind is still stuck in the past. Something happened years ago, maybe even a long time ago, but the memory still feels fresh. The words still echo in their head. The betrayal still burns inside them. The disappointment still sits in their chest like a heavy stone, and without realizing it, they start living life through the lens of that pain. In Buddhism, suffering is not only caused by what happened to you. Suffering continues because of what you keep holding on to inside you. Because the mind has a habit of clinging. It clings to sadness. It clings to anger. It clings to regret. It clings to the feeling of, why did this happen to me? And the more you replay a painful moment again and again, the more you keep the wound open. You don't just remember the pain, you relive it. You feel it again. You become it again. And this is how one memory becomes a prison. Many people don't realize how dangerous this is, because when you hold on to painful memories for too long, you stop seeing yourself as a person with a future. You start seeing yourself as someone damaged by the past. You begin to think, I am broken. I can't trust anyone. People always leave. Nothing good lasts. I'm not good enough. These thoughts don't come from the present. They come from old wounds that never healed properly. And the most painful part is this: even when life gives you new chances, your past pain makes you reject them. Even when someone tries to love you, the old pain makes you suspicious. Even when you are safe, the memory keeps you in survival mode. Even when you are growing, the past keeps pulling you back. This is why Buddhism focuses so much on awareness and mindfulness, because if you don't become aware of what you are carrying, it will silently control your life. Holding on to painful memories can also create anger that never ends. You might feel anger toward people who hurt you. You might feel anger toward yourself for trusting the wrong person. You might feel anger toward life for being unfair, and you keep telling yourself, I will never forgive them. But Buddhism teaches something powerful here. Forgiveness is not for the person who hurt you. Forgiveness is for your own freedom, because when you refuse to let go, you think you are punishing them, but in reality, you are punishing yourself. They moved on, but your mind is still locked in the same painful scene, like a movie that never stops playing. Buddhism teaches impermanence, which means everything changes. Pain changes too. Feelings change too. Nothing in life stays the same forever. But when you cling to painful memories, you try to make the pain permanent. You keep feeding it with your thoughts, your emotions, your attention, and your conversations. You keep reopening the wound. And then you wonder why you can't feel peace. You wonder why you can't feel happy. But how can you feel happiness when your mind is still carrying yesterday's sadness? Mental strength is not pretending you were never hurt. Mental strength is not acting like everything was okay. Mental strength is having the courage to heal. It is saying, yes, it happened. Yes, it hurt me, but I will not let it control me anymore. This is where true power begins. Because when you decide to release the past, you are not saying the pain was small. You are saying your life is bigger than the pain. You must understand this deeply. Your past is a chapter, not your entire story. What happened to you may have shaped you, but it does not have to define you. It does not have to become your personality. It does not have to become your future. You are allowed to outgrow the pain. You are allowed to become someone new. You are allowed to move forward without carrying the same heavy emotions forever. In Buddhism, letting go does not mean forgetting. It means you stop clinging. It means you stop giving your past the power to steal your present. It means you stop opening old wounds just to remind yourself of how much you suffered. Instead, you learn from the past like a wise person. You take the lesson, you take the growth, you take the experience, and then you leave the pain behind. Because the truth is, life is happening now. Your breath is happening now. Your chance to rebuild is happening now. And if you keep holding on to painful memories like they define you, you will miss your own life. You will miss your own peace. You will miss your own happiness. So, drop the habit of living in the past. Drop the addiction to replaying old pain. Drop the story that says you are permanently damaged. You are not your wounds. You are the one who survived them. You are the one who learned from them. And when you finally let go, you don't become weak. You become free. You become light. You become calm again. And that is real mental strength. That is real happiness. 6. The need for external validation. One of the biggest reasons people struggle to feel mentally strong and truly happy is because their confidence is not coming from inside them, it is coming from other people. They depend on approval to feel worthy. They depend on compliments to feel good. They depend on attention to feel seen. They depend on people saying, "You're amazing," to feel like they matter. And when they don't get that validation, their mind becomes heavy, their heart becomes insecure, and their happiness starts falling apart. In Buddhism, this is a very important truth. Anything you depend on outside of you can be taken away from you. And that is why depending on external validation is such a dangerous mental trap. Because people are not stable, their opinions are not stable, their love is not stable. Today they praise you, tomorrow they ignore you. Today they support you, tomorrow they criticize you. And if your happiness is connected to their reactions, then your happiness will always be unstable too. The need for validation often comes from a deep fear inside. A fear of being rejected, a fear of not being enough, a fear of being judged. So you start living life like you are performing. You start trying to impress others with your success, your looks, your lifestyle, your personality, your achievements. You start changing yourself to fit into places that don't even deserve you. You become careful with your words because you don't want anyone to dislike you. You become scared of being real because you don't want people to leave, and slowly you lose your true self. This is why people who chase validation feel tired all the time, because they are constantly trying to manage their image. They are constantly trying to control how others see them, and that is exhausting. It is like carrying a mask every day, smiling even when you're hurting, acting strong even when you're breaking, pretending to be okay just to avoid judgment. This is not peace. This is mental slavery. Buddhism teaches that your worth does not come from being liked. Your worth does not come from being popular. Your worth does not come from being praised. Your worth is already there, because you are a living human being with a soul, with a heart, with awareness. But when you forget your own value, you start begging others to remind you. And that begging becomes your suffering. The biggest problem with external validation is that it makes you depend on something you cannot control. You cannot control people's moods. You cannot control their jealousy. You cannot control their opinions. You cannot control their understanding. Sometimes, even good people will misunderstand you. Sometimes, even close people will judge you. Sometimes, even family will not support you. And if your peace depends on their approval, then you will keep losing yourself again and again. This is why mentally strong people are different. They are not rude, they are not cold, they are not arrogant, they are simply stable. They don't need everyone to like them. They don't need everyone to clap for them. They don't need everyone to understand them. They know who they are. They know what they stand for. They know their direction. And because of that, they move through life with a calm heart. In Buddhism, this is called inner freedom. It means you live from the inside out, not from the outside in. You don't wake up thinking, how do I impress people today? You wake up thinking, how do I become better today? You don't live to prove your value. You live to improve your character, your peace, and your awareness. The need for validation also keeps you stuck in toxic relationships. Many people stay with people who don't respect them because they want attention, they want to feel chosen, they want to feel wanted. They think love means someone needs them. But Buddhism teaches that love without peace is suffering. If you are always anxious, always overthinking, always chasing someone's attention, always feeling insecure, then it is not love. It is attachment. It is craving. Another painful side of validation seeking is that it makes you compare yourself constantly. You look at other people's lives and feel behind. You see someone getting attention and you feel invisible. You see someone winning and you feel like a failure. But Buddhism teaches that comparison is a thief. It steals your joy. It steals your gratitude. It steals your progress. Because you stop focusing on your own journey and start measuring your worth through someone else's life. To become mentally strong and truly happy, you must drop this need slowly, step by step. You must train yourself to feel proud without someone clapping. You must learn to stay confident even when nobody notices you. You must learn to stay disciplined even when nobody praises you. Because when you can stand alone without needing applause, you become powerful. Real happiness is not when everyone likes you. Real happiness is when you like yourself, when you respect yourself, when you trust yourself. When you stop begging people to validate you, you start validating yourself. You start choosing yourself. And the moment you drop external validation, you feel something rare: freedom. You breathe differently. You speak differently. You walk differently. You stop chasing. You stop performing. You stop proving. You start living with calm energy, with self-respect, and with true inner peace. And that is the Buddhist path. That is real strength. That is real happiness. 7. The habit of reacting emotionally to everything. One of the biggest reasons people feel mentally weak and unhappy is because their emotions control their life. They react to everything instantly. Someone says one harsh word, and their whole mood is destroyed. Someone ignores them, and they feel worthless. Something goes wrong, and they panic. A small problem happens, and they lose control of their mind. This constant emotional reacting is not only exhausting, it also steals your peace every single day. In Buddhism, one of the greatest teachings is this: you are not your emotions, you are the one who notices them. Emotions are like waves. They rise, they crash, and they fall. But if you attach yourself to every wave, you will drown. This is why Buddhists practice mindfulness, because mindfulness gives you space. it gives you control. It helps you observe what you feel without becoming it. Most people think reacting is normal. They think it's just how life is. But the truth is, reacting emotionally is a habit, and habits can be changed. The problem is, reacting happens so fast that you don't even realize you are doing it. You speak while angry. You respond while hurt. You make decisions while stressed. You message people while emotional. You fight while your heart is burning, and later, when your mind becomes calm again, you regret it. You think, why did I say that? Why did I react like that? Why did I destroy my peace for something so small? This regret becomes another suffering. Buddhism teaches that suffering is created when you lose awareness. When you are unaware, your emotions take the steering wheel, and when emotions drive your life, you become unstable. One day you are happy, one day you are angry, one day you are strong, one day you are broken because your mood is controlled by external events. This is not strength. This is being a prisoner of the outside world. Mental strength is not about never feeling emotions. Buddhism does not teach you to become cold or emotionless. It teaches you to become aware and balanced. A strong mind still feels anger, but it does not explode. A strong mind still feels sadness, but it does not collapse. A strong mind still feels stress, but it does not lose control. It stays centered. It stays steady. That is power. Reacting emotionally also gives other people control over you. When you react quickly, people can manipulate your mood easily. They can trigger you. They can provoke you. They can disturb your peace with just a few words. But when you learn to pause, you become untouchable. You become the type of person who cannot be controlled by insults, drama, or negativity. You stop giving others the power to steal your peace. In Buddhism, this pause is everything. The pause between what happens and how you respond is where your freedom is, because in that pause you can choose wisdom instead of reaction. You can choose silence instead of argument. You can choose calm instead of chaos. And that choice changes everything. Many people lose happiness because they turn small moments into big suffering. A person doesn't reply fast, and they start overthinking. Someone gives a rude look, and they start feeling angry. A small mistake happens, and they start hating themselves. This is emotional reacting. It is like setting your own mind on fire just because one small thing went wrong. Buddhism teaches that life will always have problems. People will always behave strangely. Situations will always change. But your peace depends on one thing: your response. You cannot control what happens, but you can control how you respond to it. That is real mental strength. To drop the habit of reacting emotionally, you must practice awareness daily. You must train yourself to slow down. When something triggers you, take one deep breath. When you feel anger rising, pause and observe it. When you feel hurt, don't rush to react. Sit with it. Ask yourself, is my reaction helping me or destroying me? This simple question can save you from so much regret and pain. When you stop reacting emotionally, your life becomes peaceful in a way you never imagined. Your mind becomes quiet. Your heart becomes lighter. You stop fighting unnecessary battles. You stop wasting energy on drama. You stop giving attention to things that don't matter. You become calm even when life is loud. And this is the true Buddhist power, a mind that stays peaceful even in storms. A mind that doesn't break easily, a mind that doesn't react to every trigger, a mind that knows how to stay still. Because when you master your emotions, you master your life. And when you master your life, happiness becomes natural, simple, and effortless. Drop the need to be understood by everyone. One of the first things you must let go of if you want to become mentally strong and truly happy is this invisible addiction, the need to be understood, accepted, and approved by everyone. Most people don't realize how much suffering comes from this one habit. They think they are just being nice or polite or social, but deep inside, they are doing something far more dangerous. They are handing their peace to other people's opinions. In Buddhism, real strength begins when you stop living for the outside world and start living from the inside. Because the moment you depend on people to understand you, you become mentally weak without noticing. Why? Because people are limited. Their minds are shaped by their own pain, their own jealousy, their own past, their own ego, and their own experiences. Some people will misunderstand you even when you speak clearly. Some people will judge you even when you are doing the right thing. Some people will hate you simply because you are growing. And if your happiness depends on their understanding, you will suffer forever. Many people keep explaining themselves again and again. They keep proving their intentions. They keep trying to look good in everyone's eyes. They keep defending their choices like they are on trial every single day. And slowly, this becomes a prison. Because you are no longer living your life, you are performing your life. You are trying to act in a way that keeps people comfortable, even if it makes you uncomfortable. This is exactly how mental weakness is created. Not through one big failure, but through small daily compromises. You stay quiet when you should speak because you fear judgment. You pretend you're okay because you fear rejection. You hold yourself back from growth because you don't want to disappoint anyone. You start living in a way that is not true to your soul, just to keep people happy. But Buddhism teaches that attachment to people's opinions is a source of suffering, because opinions are unstable. Today, people like you. Tomorrow, they don't. Today, they respect you. Tomorrow, they gossip about you. So if your peace depends on something unstable, your peace will always be unstable too. Mentally strong people understand a powerful truth. Being misunderstood is not the end of the world. In fact, it is often a sign that you are evolving. When you change, the old version of you will make some people uncomfortable. When you become disciplined, the lazy people will call you too serious. When you become focused, the distracted people will call you cold. When you set boundaries, the selfish people will call you selfish. But none of that means you are wrong. It only means they can't handle the new you. Buddhism teaches us to detach from the ego, and one of the biggest ego traps is wanting everyone to see you the way you see yourself, wanting everyone to validate your goodness, wanting everyone to confirm that you are pure and kind and loyal. But you don't need that. You don't need the world's approval to be a good person. You only need inner alignment. You only need to know that your intentions are clean, your actions are right, and your heart is at peace. There is something extremely powerful that happens when you drop the need to be understood. You become calm. You stop over-explaining. You stop proving. You stop arguing. You stop begging people to see your worth. And that is true happiness, because your happiness is no longer begging for permission to exist. This is why Buddhism always points you back to your own awareness. Because when you are mindful, you stop reacting emotionally to opinions. You stop taking everything personally. You stop needing to be defended. You simply observe people's words like passing clouds. You don't chase them. You don't fight them. You let them pass. You must understand this deeply. The people who are meant for you will understand you without you forcing it. And the people who are not meant for you will never understand you, even if you explain 1,000 times. So don't waste your energy trying to convince a closed mind. Don't waste your peace trying to prove yourself to people who already decided how they want to see you. Your mental strength grows the day you realize this. You don't need to be understood by everyone. You need to be at peace with yourself. You need to be loyal to your growth. You need to be honest with your path. And when you live like that, something changes. You stop caring about small judgments. You stop needing attention. You stop feeling weak when someone dislikes you. Because now, your happiness is not coming from outside, it is coming from inside. And in Buddhism, that is the highest level of freedom, a mind that is calm even when people don't understand it. Drop the habit of comparing your life to others. If you want to become mentally strong and truly happy, one of the most important things you must let go of is this toxic habit, comparing your life to other people's life. This one habit destroys peace silently. It does not attack you loudly. It doesn't come like a sudden storm. It comes slowly, like poison in small drops, until your mind becomes heavy and your heart forgets how to feel satisfied. In Buddhism, comparison is a form of suffering because it pulls your awareness away from your own journey and locks it onto someone else's path. It makes you look at other people's success and feel behind. It makes you see other people's happiness and feel empty. It makes you see other people's lifestyle and feel like your life is not enough. And the saddest part is, most of the time you are comparing your reality to someone else's highlight. You are comparing your behind the scenes to their best moments. And no matter how hard you try, that comparison will always make you feel small. The mind that compares is never peaceful, because comparison creates a constant feeling of lack. Even if you are progressing, comparison will tell you it's not fast enough. Even if you are improving, comparison will tell you others are still ahead. Even if you are doing better than before, comparison will tell you it's still not enough. So you start living in a mental state of dissatisfaction, where nothing feels complete. And when nothing feels complete, happiness becomes impossible. Comparison also makes you forget one powerful truth. Every soul has a different path. In Buddhism, life is seen as a journey shaped by karma, timing, lessons, and inner growth. Some people receive success early. Some people receive pain early. Some people receive responsibilities early. Some people struggle for years, then bloom later. But the mind that compares doesn't understand this. It only sees the surface. It only sees results. It does not see the invisible battles behind someone's smile. It does not see the pressure behind someone's wealth. It does not see the loneliness behind someone's popularity. When you compare, you are not seeing the full picture. You are only seeing what the ego wants you to see. Because the ego loves comparison. It loves making you feel inferior or sometimes superior. Either way, it keeps you trapped. If you feel inferior, you suffer from jealousy and sadness. If you feel superior, you suffer from arrogance and pride. Both are chains. Both disturb the mind. Both take you away from peace. This is why Buddhist teachings focus on contentment. Contentment does not mean you stop improving. It means you stop hating where you are. It means you stop disrespecting your own journey. It means you stop living like your life is worthless just because it looks different from someone else's life. Because mental strength is not having everything. Mental strength is being grateful while you build. Many people are mentally weak because they keep checking what others are doing. They watch their friends, their cousins, influencers, strangers online, and they feel pressure. They feel like they are late. They feel like they are failing. They feel like they are not winning enough. And this pressure creates anxiety. It creates frustration. It creates self-hatred. It creates impatience. It makes you rush into decisions you are not ready for just to catch up. But there is no catching up because you were never in the same race. Your life is not a competition. Your life is a practice of becoming wiser, calmer, stronger, and more aware. But comparison turns life into a race where you always feel you are losing. And that is why so many people are unhappy, even when they have good things. They cannot enjoy what they have, because they are always looking at what they don't have. Buddhism teaches mindfulness, and mindfulness means being present. And you cannot be present when your mind is living in someone else's life. You cannot enjoy your progress when your eyes are on someone else's success. You cannot appreciate your blessings when your heart is busy counting someone else's blessings. The truth is, comparison steals your happiness in two ways. First, it makes you feel inferior. Second, it makes you ignore your own growth. You forget how far you have come. You forget what you survived. You forget how much you improved. You forget what you learned. You forget your own strength. You start acting like your journey has no value, but your journey is valuable. Even your pain has meaning. Even your slow progress is progress. Even your silent growth is powerful. To become mentally strong, you must drop the habit of looking left and right. You must bring your attention back to your own steps, back to your own breath, back to your own goals, back to your own healing. Because when you stop comparing, your mind becomes lighter. You stop feeling jealous. You stop feeling pressured. You stop feeling behind. You start moving with patience. You start trusting timing. You start appreciating your path. And here is the most powerful truth. The moment you stop comparing your life to others, you finally start living your life. You start feeling peace again. You start feeling gratitude again. You start feeling proud again, not because you have everything, but because you are no longer at war with yourself. That is mental strength. That is Buddhist freedom. That is happiness that cannot be stolen. Drop the habit of taking everything personally. If you want to become mentally strong and truly happy, you must let go of one habit that silently destroys peace every single day. Taking everything personally. This is one of the biggest reasons people feel emotionally weak, mentally tired, and constantly stressed. Because when you take everything personally, life becomes heavy. Every small comment becomes an attack. Every silence becomes rejection. Every different tone becomes disrespect. Every mistake becomes shame. And slowly, your mind becomes a battlefield where you are always defending yourself even when there is no real danger. Buddhism teaches something very powerful. Most people's behavior is not about you, it is about them. Their anger is often their own pain. Their coldness is often their own emotional emptiness. Their disrespect is often their own insecurity. Their jealousy is often their own weakness. But when you take everything personally, you forget this truth. You start believing that everything people do is a reflection of your worth, and this belief becomes your suffering. For example, someone ignores you, and your mind immediately says, "They don't like me." Someone speaks rudely, and your mind says, "I am not respected." Someone doesn't invite you, and your mind says, "I am not important." Someone criticizes you, and your mind says, "I am not good enough." This is how a weak mind suffers by creating painful stories without real proof. And these stories feel real because the mind is powerful. It can turn a small situation into a big emotional wound. Taking things personally also makes you emotionally reactive. You become easily triggered. You become easily offended. Your mood becomes controlled by other people's words and actions. And when your mood is controlled by others, you are not free. You are mentally trapped. Even if you look calm on the outside, inside you are constantly overthinking, constantly analyzing, constantly trying to understand why someone said something a certain way. This constant mental noise slowly drains your happiness. In Buddhism, mindfulness teaches you to observe without attachment. It teaches you to see things clearly without adding extra suffering. When someone speaks harshly, mindfulness says, "That was harsh." But taking it personally says, "They hate me." When something goes wrong, mindfulness says, "This is a challenge," but taking it personally says, "Life is against me." This is the difference between wisdom and suffering. A mentally strong person does not allow every small thing to enter their heart. They understand that not every opinion deserves attention, not every comment deserves a response. Not every negative energy deserves a reaction, because they know that people speak from their level of awareness. Some people speak with kindness because they have peace inside. Some people speak with cruelty because they have chaos inside. And you don't need to carry someone else's chaos in your heart. Taking everything personally also keeps you insecure because you start depending on everyone's behavior to feel okay. If people are nice, you feel happy. If people are rude, you feel low. If people praise you, you feel confident. If people criticize you, you feel worthless. This is not strength. This is emotional dependence. You become like a leaf in the wind, moving wherever people's actions push you. Buddhism teaches inner stability. That means your peace comes from inside, not from outside. Your calm is not based on who approves you. Your confidence is not based on who likes you. Your happiness is not based on how people treat you. You become so centered that even if someone is rude, you don't lose yourself. Even if someone misunderstands you, you don't panic. Even if someone judges you, you don't collapse. This does not mean you accept disrespect. It means you stop letting disrespect destroy your inner world. You protect your peace without becoming bitter. You set boundaries without becoming angry. You move away from toxic energy without carrying hatred. That is the Buddhist way. That is mental strength. One of the best ways to stop taking things personally is to remember this simple truth. Everyone is fighting something you cannot see. A person may be cold because they are suffering. A person may be angry because they are unhappy. A person may be rude because they feel powerless inside. A person may be disrespectful because they were never taught respect. Their behavior is often a reflection of their own mental state, not your value. Another powerful truth is this: not everyone will understand you, and that is okay. People will see you through their own mindset. Some people will always misunderstand you, no matter how pure you are. Some people will always judge you, no matter how kind you are. But that does not mean you are wrong. It only means their mind cannot see beyond their own limitations. When you accept this, you become free. To become mentally strong, you must train your mind to pause. When someone triggers you, take a breath. Don't react immediately. Ask yourself, is this really about me? Is this worth my peace? Do I want to carry this energy into my day? This pause is power. This pause is freedom. This pause is emotional intelligence. And when you stop taking everything personally, your life changes. You stop feeling hurt by small things. You stop overthinking every conversation. You stop needing to defend yourself. You stop living in emotional tension. Your mind becomes quiet. Your heart becomes light. And happiness becomes easier, because now you are not letting other people's moods control your inner world. That is the real Buddhist strength. A peaceful mind that stays stable no matter what happens outside. When you drop the habit of taking everything personally, you stop suffering unnecessarily. You stop feeding the ego. You start living with calm, clarity, and true inner happiness. Drop the need to always prove your worth. If you want to become mentally strong and truly happy, you must let go of one exhausting habit that secretly destroys your peace, the need to always prove your worth. This is one of the most common reasons people feel mentally tired, emotionally stressed, and spiritually empty. Because when you live your life trying to prove yourself, you are not living freely, you are living under pressure. You are living like your value is something you must earn every single day, instead of something you already have. In Buddhism, Much of suffering comes from attachment to identity. The mind creates a picture of who you must be: successful, admired, respected, strong, rich, popular, always improving, always winning. And once you attach to this image, you begin to fear anything that threatens it. You fear criticism, you fear failure, you fear being judged. You fear being seen as not good enough. So you start trying harder, not from peace, but from insecurity. This need to prove yourself can show up in many ways. Some people try to prove their worth through achievements. They want to be the best, they want to be recognized, they want everyone to see their progress. Some people prove their worth through money, trying to show that they are successful. Some people prove their worth through looks, trying to appear perfect and attractive all the time. Some prove their worth by being overly helpful, always saying yes, always trying to please others so they feel needed. And some people prove their worth by staying in toxic relationships, because they believe if they can make someone love them, then they must be valuable. But all of these are the same trap, living as if your worth is outside you. The painful truth is, when you need to prove your worth, you never feel satisfied. Because no matter how much you achieve, you still feel behind. No matter how many compliments you receive, you still feel insecure. No matter how hard you work, you still feel like you must do more. That is because the problem is not your effort. The problem is your belief. You believe you are not enough unless you prove it. And that belief will never allow you to rest. Buddhism teaches that real strength comes from detachment. Detachment does not mean you stop improving. It means you stop tying your self-worth to outcomes. You stop believing your value depends on results. You stop living like you must earn the right to be respected. You become calm inside, because you understand something deeply. Your worth is not a performance. A mentally strong person doesn't need to impress everyone. They don't need to show off. They don't need to prove their success. They don't need to constantly explain how good they are. They don't even need revenge when someone underestimates them. Why? Because they are secure. They know who they are. They know what they are building. They don't need the world to validate them because they already respect themselves. This is why people who are always proving themselves become emotionally weak, because their mood depends on reactions. If people praise them, they feel high. If people criticize them, they feel low. If they succeed, they feel proud. If they fail, they feel worthless. Their life becomes a roller coaster of emotions because their identity is attached to winning. This is not happiness. This is mental slavery. The need to prove your worth also makes you chase attention. It makes you want people to notice you. It makes you want people to regret losing you. It makes you want people to finally say, "Wow, you were right." But Buddhism teaches that peace is not found in being admired. Peace is found in being free from the need to be admired. Because admiration is temporary, attention is temporary, popularity is temporary. Everything outside is unstable, but inner peace is stable when you build it within yourself. Another thing that happens when you keep proving your worth is you start losing your true self. You start making choices that don't match your heart. You start working for goals that don't even make you happy. You start living for people who don't even care. You start carrying stress just to maintain an image. And one day you look at yourself and realize you are exhausted, but you don't even know why. You are tired because you have been trying to prove something that never needed to be proven. Buddhism teaches that the ego loves proving, it loves showing, it loves competing, it loves being seen. But wisdom loves silence, wisdom loves peace, wisdom loves growth without announcement. And when you drop the need to prove yourself, you step into wisdom. You start doing things because they are meaningful, not because they impress people. You start building your future quietly, not because you want applause, but because you want peace. You start improving your life for yourself, not to prove someone wrong, and that is when true happiness begins. The strongest people are not the loudest. The strongest people are the calmest. They don't need to be seen. They don't need to be praised. They don't need people to understand them. They move in silence, and their peace becomes their power. So drop the need to always prove your worth. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to explain your intentions to everyone. You don't need to show your success to be successful. You don't need everyone to respect you to respect yourself. The moment you stop proving, you start living. And this is the Buddhist truth. You were enough before they clapped, and you will still be enough even if they never do. That is mental strength. That is inner freedom. That is real happiness. Drop the addiction to overthinking. A mind that never rests cannot be happy. If you want to become mentally strong and truly happy, you must let go of one of the most common habits that silently destroys people from the inside: overthinking. This is not a small problem. This is not just thinking a lot. Overthinking is when your mind becomes a prison. It is when you repeat the same thoughts again and again until you feel tired, anxious, and emotionally drained. It is when you create problems that don't exist yet. It is when you replay the past, like a movie you cannot turn off. It is when your mind refuses to rest, even when your body is begging for peace. In Buddhism, the mind is powerful, but it is also wild. It moves constantly. It worries about tomorrow. It regrets yesterday. It doubts today. And if you don't train it, it will keep pulling you into suffering without your permission. This is why the Buddhist path is not only about becoming a good person, it is about becoming an aware person. Because the biggest enemy of happiness is not always the outside world. Most of the time, the biggest enemy is your uncontrolled mind. Overthinking often starts with one simple thought: a message you didn't receive, a tone of voice that felt cold, a mistake you made, a memory that comes back, a fear about the future. And then your mind begins its work. It starts asking questions that have no end. Why did they say that? What did they mean? Did I do something wrong? What if this goes bad? What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I lose everything? And the mind keeps adding more and more thoughts, until one small situation becomes a big emotional storm. This is why overthinking is so dangerous. Not because thinking is bad, but because overthinking steals your peace through imagination. Your mind creates stories. Your mind creates worst-case scenarios. Your mind creates fear. Your mind creates pain, and then your body reacts as if the pain is real. Your heart beats faster. Your chest feels heavy. Your stomach becomes tight. Your sleep becomes weak. Your energy becomes low. You feel stressed, even though nothing has actually happened yet. This is suffering created by the mind. Buddhism teaches that suffering has a cause, and one of the main causes is attachment, clinging to thoughts, clinging to outcomes, clinging to fears, clinging to what if. Overthinking is a form of clinging. You cling to your thoughts as if they are truth. But thoughts are not always truth. Many thoughts are simply noise. Many thoughts are old conditioning. Many thoughts are fear wearing a mask of logic. A mentally weak person believes every thought. A mentally strong person observes thoughts. This is a major difference, because when you believe every thought, you become a slave to your mind. You start reacting emotionally to things that may not even be real. You start making decisions based on fear, not wisdom. You start doubting yourself, not because you are weak, but because your mind is loud. Overthinking also ruins relationships. It makes you suspicious. It makes you insecure. It makes you create problems that were never there. Sometimes a person is simply busy, and your mind tells you they are ignoring you. Sometimes a person is quiet, and your mind tells you they are angry. Sometimes a person is distant, and your mind tells you they don't care. And then you start overreacting, over-explaining, over-texting, over-demanding, not because the relationship is truly dying, but because your mind is panicking. Overthinking turns love into anxiety. It turns peace into tension. It also destroys confidence. Because when you overthink, you delay action. You want to start something, but you overthink. You want to change your life, but you overthink. You want to take a risk, but you overthink. You want to speak up, but you overthink. You want to leave what is hurting you, but you overthink. And this creates a dangerous cycle. You think so much that you do nothing, and when you do nothing, you feel weak. Then you feel guilty. Then you think more. Then you become more stuck. This is how overthinking keeps people trapped in the same life for years. Buddhism teaches that your life is happening now. But overthinking steals now from you. It pulls you into the past or the future. It makes you relive old pain or fear tomorrow's pain. And the most painful truth is this: you can never find peace in a mind that is always running. A mind that never rests cannot be happy. It can only survive. Many people think happiness comes from fixing everything. They think, if I just solve all my problems, then I will relax. But life will always have problems. There will always be something to manage, something to improve, something to fear, something to worry about. If you wait for life to become perfect before you feel peace, you will wait forever. Buddhism teaches that peace is not found in the absence of problems. Peace is found in the presence of awareness. Overthinking is also connected to the ego. The ego wants control. It wants certainty. It wants guarantees. It wants to predict everything so you never feel pain. But life does not work like that. You cannot control everything. You cannot predict everything. And when you try, your mind becomes exhausted. You start living like you must always be ready for disaster. But that is not living. That is suffering. To become mentally strong, you must learn the practice of the witness mind. In Buddhism, mindfulness means you observe your thoughts without becoming them. You watch them like clouds passing in the sky. You don't chase them. You don't fight them. You don't attach to them. You just notice. This is a thought. This is fear. This is anxiety. This is imagination. And by noticing, you create distance. And in that distance, you find power. A powerful truth is this: you are not your thoughts. Thoughts come and go. You are the one who notices them. If you can notice thoughts without believing them, you become free. You stop being controlled. You stop being dragged. One of the biggest lessons in Buddhism is learning to return to the breath, because the breath lives in the present moment. Your breath does not live in yesterday. Your breath does not live in tomorrow. Your breath lives now. And when you return to the breath, you return to peace. Overthinking is like leaving your home and getting lost in the mind's jungle. The breath is the path back home. When you overthink, it feels like you are solving something. But most of the time, you are just repeating. You are just worrying. You are just spinning. You are not moving forward. You are not taking action. You are not learning. You are just suffering. And that is why overthinking is not intelligence. It is emotional fear disguised as thinking. Mentally strong people learn to simplify. They ask themselves, what is in my control right now? What action can I take? What can I accept? What can I let go? They don't spend all day in mental debates. They choose one small action and move forward. That is real strength. To drop overthinking, you must also accept that uncertainty is part of life. The mind hates uncertainty, but wisdom accepts it. The strongest minds are not those who know everything. The strongest minds are those who can stay calm in the unknown. Another reason overthinking is so addictive is because it keeps you busy, and a busy mind feels like progress. But it's not. A busy mind is not a productive mind. A busy mind is often a fearful mind. Overthinking keeps you distracted from your true feelings. Sometimes people overthink because they don't want to face their pain, they don't want to face loneliness, they don't want to face the truth about someone. So they keep thinking, because thinking feels safer than feeling. But Buddhism teaches that freedom comes from facing reality, not escaping it. When you stop overthinking, you start feeling again. You start being present again. You start enjoying small things again. You start sleeping deeply again. You start trusting yourself again. And life becomes lighter. A peaceful mind is not a mind with no thoughts. It is a mind that is not controlled by thoughts. It is a mind that can think when needed and stay silent when needed. It is a mind that obeys you, not a mind that controls you. This is why meditation is so important in Buddhism. Meditation is not about becoming special. It is about training the mind to be still. It is about learning to sit with yourself without noise. It is about learning to watch thoughts rise and fall without reacting. And the more you practice, the more you realize something shocking. Most of your suffering was never from life. It was from your mind's constant noise. Overthinking also creates emotional weakness because it makes you doubt yourself. You start questioning your decisions. You start feeling confused. You start thinking you need other people's advice for everything. You stop trusting your own judgment, and when you stop trusting yourself, you lose your power. Mental strength grows when you trust yourself, even when you are unsure. It grows when you take action, even if you feel fear. It grows when you stop needing perfect clarity and start moving with faith. Here is a simple Buddhist reminder. You don't have to believe every thought you have. Just because your mind says you will fail does not mean you will. Just because your mind says they don't care does not mean it's true. Just because your mind says you are not enough does not mean it is reality. Thoughts are visitors. Let them come, let them go. Don't build a home for them in your heart. Overthinking is also a thief of joy. It steals your ability to enjoy what you already have. You might be sitting with family, but your mind is worried. You might be eating food, but your mind is anxious. You might be resting, but your mind is working. You might be achieving goals, but your mind is comparing. And then life passes, and you realize you were never truly present. Buddhism teaches that presence is happiness. If you are present, you can feel peace even in simple moments. But overthinking steals presence, so it steals happiness. To become mentally strong and happy, you must drop this addiction, not overnight, but with practice, with patience, with awareness, with discipline. Every time you catch yourself overthinking, return to the present. Return to breathing. Return to what you can control. Return to action. Return to silence. And slowly, you will see your mind becoming lighter, your heart becoming calmer, your life becoming easier. Because the truth is, a calm mind is a strong mind. A calm mind can handle anything. A calm mind can face pain without collapsing. A calm mind can face uncertainty without panicking. A calm mind can face life without fear. So, drop overthinking, drop the endless mental noise, drop the habit of living in problems that do not exist yet. And when you do, you will feel something rare, mental freedom. And that freedom is the beginning of true happiness. Drop the need to control everything. The more you force life, the more you suffer. If you want to become mentally strong and truly happy, you must let go of one of the biggest causes of inner suffering, the need to control everything. This habit does not look dangerous on the outside. In fact, many people think it is a good thing. They think control means discipline. They think control means being responsible. They think control means being smart and prepared. But Buddhism teaches something deeper. When control comes from fear, it becomes a chain, and a chain can never give you peace. Most people who try to control everything are not doing it because they love planning. They are doing it because they are afraid. Afraid of being disappointed, afraid of being hurt, afraid of losing people, afraid of the future, afraid of uncertainty. And because they cannot handle the unknown, they try to manage everything around them, hoping it will make them feel safe. But the more you try to control life, the more life teaches you one painful truth. Life is not fully controllable. It moves on its own. It changes suddenly. People change. Situations change. Feelings change. Plans break. And when your mind is addicted to control, every change feels like suffering. In Buddhism, the cause of suffering is not always what happens. The cause of suffering is your resistance to what happens. You want life to follow your expectations. You want people to behave the way you imagine. You want situations to be fair and predictable. You want results quickly. You want guarantees. You want certainty. But life does not promise certainty. Life promises change. And when you fight change, you suffer. The need for control shows up in small ways and big ways. Sometimes it shows up as worrying all day about the future. Sometimes it shows up as trying to control other people's choices. Sometimes it shows up as needing everything to be perfect before you start. Sometimes it shows up as over-managing relationships, always checking, always questioning, always needing reassurance. Sometimes it shows up as anger when things don't go your way. Sometimes it shows up as panic when plans change. No matter how it shows up, it creates the same result: a tired mind. A controlling mind is never at rest. It is always planning, predicting, analyzing, calculating, and preparing for problems. And even when everything is okay, a controlling mind still searches for danger. It still thinks something might go wrong. It still waits for problems. That is not peace. That is mental pressure. And over time, this pressure turns into anxiety, stress, burnout, and emotional weakness. Buddhism teaches impermanence. Everything changes, not because life wants to punish you, but because change is the nature of reality. Nothing stays the same forever. Happiness changes. Pain changes. People change. Seasons change. Your body changes. Your mind changes. Everything is in motion. And the mentally strong person learns to accept motion without fear. They don't collapse when things change. They don't panic when life surprises them. They adapt. They flow. This is why Buddhism often uses nature as a teacher. Look at a river. A river does not fight the rocks in its path. It flows around them. It doesn't stop and cry because the rock is there. It doesn't waste energy trying to move the rock with anger. It simply moves forward with patience. And yet, over time, the river becomes powerful enough to shape mountains. That is real strength. Not force, not control, but flow. Many people think letting go of control means becoming careless, lazy, or irresponsible. But Buddhism does not teach carelessness. It teaches wisdom. It teaches the difference between effort and attachment. Effort is healthy. Attachment is suffering. You can work hard, plan, prepare, and improve your life. But you must learn to drop attachment to the outcome. Because attachment to the outcome creates fear. It creates pressure. It creates disappointment. It creates anger. It makes you feel like if things don't go your way, then life is against you. But life is not against you. Life is simply changing. A mentally strong person does their best, then releases the rest. They take action, but they don't cling to results. They try, but they don't force. They improve, but they don't torture themselves. They understand that outcomes are not always in their control. Sometimes you can do everything right and still face difficulty. Sometimes you can work hard and still fail. Sometimes you can be loyal and still get betrayed. Sometimes you can love deeply and still lose someone. This is not unfair life. This is the truth of existence. The need to control everything also affects relationships deeply. When you are addicted to control, you start trying to control people's behavior. You want them to text you a certain way. You want them to speak a certain way. You want them to behave how you expect. You want them to always prove their love. And when they don't, your mind becomes anxious and insecure. You start overthinking. You start questioning. You start reacting emotionally. And slowly, you turn love into stress. But love cannot grow in control. Love grows in freedom. Buddhism teaches non-attachment, which means you love without clinging, you care without controlling, you support without forcing. Because when you truly understand life, you realize that controlling people never keeps them. It only pushes them away. The more you try to control someone, the more you lose peace inside yourself. And when you lose peace, you lose happiness. Control also destroys happiness because it makes you impatient. When you control everything, you want things to happen quickly. You want results now. You want healing now. You want success now. You want life to change now. And when it doesn't happen fast enough, you become frustrated. You feel stuck. You feel hopeless. But Buddhism teaches patience. It teaches that growth is slow. Healing is slow. Strength is built slowly, like a tree grows slowly, like the sun rises slowly. Like a flower blooms slowly, and when you accept the pace of life, you stop suffering from impatience. One of the strongest Buddhist truths is this: you cannot control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond to it. This is where real power lives. Your response is your freedom. Your response is your strength. Your response decides whether you suffer or grow. Life might bring storms, but you can choose to become stable inside. That is mental strength. When you drop the need to control everything, your mind becomes calm because you stop fighting reality. You stop asking life to be different from what it is. You stop blaming yourself for every problem. You stop blaming others for every disappointment. You simply accept and adjust. This acceptance is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the highest form of intelligence. Because it saves you from unnecessary pain. Buddhism teaches surrender, but not the surrender of giving up. It teaches the surrender of acceptance. It means you stop resisting what already happened. You stop replaying. It should have been different. You stop breaking your heart over something you cannot change. You accept the present moment fully, and from that calm place, you take the best action. Many people think mental strength means having complete control, but real mental strength means being okay even without control. It means being stable even in uncertainty. It means being peaceful even in change. It means trusting life even when you don't understand it. Because if you need control to feel okay, then you will never feel okay. Life will always surprise you. Life will always change. So your happiness cannot depend on control. It must depend on inner peace. Dropping control also makes you emotionally stronger. Because when you stop controlling outcomes, you stop fearing failure. You stop fearing rejection. You stop fearing mistakes. You start seeing everything as learning. You start seeing challenges as growth. You start seeing setbacks as part of the path. And this mindset makes you unstoppable, because now nothing breaks you. Everything shapes you. This is why Buddhism teaches the middle way. Not extreme control, not extreme chaos, balance, awareness, presence. You still work hard, but you don't destroy your mind with pressure. You still plan, but you don't panic when plans change. You still love, but you don't cling. You still dream, but you don't attach your happiness to the dream. You move through life with calm power. To practice letting go of control, you must train yourself daily. When something goes wrong, instead of panicking, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, what can I control right now? Maybe you can control your attitude. Maybe you can control your next action. Maybe you can control your words. Maybe you can control your focus. And the rest, you release. You don't need to carry everything in your mind. You don't need to fight everything. You don't need to force everything. Because the truth is, the more you force life, the more you suffer. And the more you trust life, the more peaceful you become. When you drop the need to control everything, you feel lighter. You sleep deeper. You smile more. You stop living in tension. You stop living like you must hold the entire world on your shoulders. You become calm. You become wise. You become mentally strong. And that is the Buddhist freedom, a mind that is not shaken by life's changes because it has learned to flow instead of fight. Drop the habit of reacting emotionally to everything. Your peace is your real power. If you want to become mentally strong and truly happy, you must let go of one habit that silently destroys your peace every single day, the habit of reacting emotionally to everything. This is one of the biggest reasons people feel mentally weak, not because they are bad people, not because they are not smart, but because they are living without awareness. They are living in automatic reaction mode, and when you live like that, life controls you, people control you, situations control you, your emotions control you. And the result is always the same: inner chaos. In Buddhism, the mind is like a fire. If you keep feeding it with anger, it grows bigger. If you keep feeding it with fear, it burns stronger. If you keep feeding it with stress, it never stops. But if you stop feeding the fire, it becomes quiet. It dies down. It returns to calm. This is exactly what emotional reactions are: fuel for the mind's fire. Every time you react instantly, you are feeding your suffering. Most people don't realize how fast reactions happen. Someone says something rude and you react. Someone disagrees with you and you react. Someone ignores you and you react. Something goes wrong and you react. You lose money, you react. You feel disrespected, you react. And these reactions may seem small, but they create a big problem over time. Your peace becomes fragile. It becomes easy to break. It becomes dependent on things outside of you. That is why Buddhism teaches mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of awareness. It is the practice of noticing what is happening inside you without immediately obeying it. It is the practice of watching your emotions rise like waves without drowning in them. Because emotions are not enemies. Emotions are natural. Anger is natural. Sadness is natural. Fear is natural. Stress is natural. But the problem is not feeling emotions. The problem is becoming a slave to them. A mentally weak person is controlled by emotions. They feel angry and they explode. They feel sad and they collapse. They feel offended and they destroy their relationships. They feel insecure and they beg for validation. They feel stressed and they panic. They feel jealous and they become bitter. They feel hurt and they become toxic. This is not strength. This is suffering. Buddhism teaches that you are not your emotions. You are the awareness behind emotions. This is a powerful shift, because when you realize you are not your emotions, you stop identifying with them. You stop saying, "I am angry." Instead, you start saying, "Anger is here." You stop saying, "I am broken." Instead, you say, "Pain is here." This small change is huge, because it creates distance. And in that distance, you regain control. When you react emotionally, you give away your power, you give away your peace, you hand your mind to the outside world, you let people push your buttons whenever they want. You let situations dictate your mood. You let one negative moment ruin your entire day. And this is why people feel exhausted. not because life is always terrible, but because they are always emotionally reacting. Think about it. How many days have been ruined because of one small moment, one comment, one misunderstanding, one mistake, one traffic jam, one rude person, one delay, one message not replied to, one small disappointment? When you react emotionally, you multiply suffering. The event is small, but your reaction makes it big. The problem lasts 5 minutes, but your mind carries it for hours, sometimes for days. In Buddhism, this is called the second arrow. The first arrow is what happens to you. The second arrow is the pain you create by reacting mentally. The first arrow might be unavoidable, but the second arrow is optional. You shoot it into yourself. You punish yourself with overthinking, anger, regret, and emotional chaos. That is why Buddha taught that suffering is not only in life, it is also in the mind. Emotional reactions also destroy relationships. Many people lose good people because they react quickly. They speak harshly in anger. They accuse without proof. They assume the worst. They create drama. They say things they don't mean, and later, when emotions cool down, regret comes. But sometimes regret is too late. Words cannot be taken back. Damage cannot always be repaired. And that is why learning emotional control is not just about peace, it is about protecting your life. A mentally strong person is not someone who never gets angry. They get angry, but they don't lose themselves. They feel hurt, but they don't destroy others. They feel stress, but they stay grounded. They understand that emotions are visitors. They come and go, so they don't rush to act while emotions are loud. Buddhism teaches the importance of the pause. The pause between stimulus and response is where your freedom lives. Someone speaks rudely, pause. Something goes wrong, pause. Someone triggers you, pause. That pause might be only one breath, but that one breath can save your peace, it can save your relationships, it can save your future. Because in that pause, you get to choose wisdom over reaction. Most people don't choose. They react. They become emotional and obey the emotion instantly. But you must understand, emotions are temporary. If you react in a temporary mood, you create permanent damage. That is why mentally strong people train themselves to wait. They train themselves to breathe first. They train themselves to respond, not react. Responding is different from reacting. Reacting is automatic. Responding is mindful. Reacting is emotional. Responding is wise. Reacting is uncontrolled. Responding is deliberate. And this is what Buddhism teaches. Control your mind, or your mind will control you. Reacting emotionally also makes you suffer from ego, because most reactions are ego-based. Someone disrespects you, and your ego reacts. Someone ignores you, and your ego reacts. Someone criticizes you, and your ego reacts. Someone disagrees, and your ego reacts. The ego wants to defend itself. It wants to be right. It wants to be respected. It wants to win. But Buddhism teaches that the ego is an illusion. It is not your true self. So when you react from ego, you react from something fake, and that reaction creates suffering. The strongest people have mastered one thing. They do not allow outside events to control their inner world. They understand that peace is power. They understand that calm is strength. They understand that self-control is the highest victory, because when you can control yourself, nobody can control you. When you drop emotional reactions, you stop being easy to provoke. You stop being easy to disturb. You stop being easy to manipulate. You become stable, and stability is happiness. Because happiness is not excitement, happiness is not constant pleasure, happiness is inner peace that stays with you even in difficulty. One of the best teachings in Buddhism is that anger is like holding a burning coal and expecting the other person to be burned, but you are the one getting burned. Every time you react in anger, you burn yourself first. Your heart becomes heavy, your mind becomes dark, your body becomes tense, your peace disappears. And the other person? They might not even care. They might move on quickly, but you remain trapped in the anger. That is why reacting emotionally is self-harm. It damages you more than it damages anyone else. Fear is the same. When you react with fear, you panic, you overthink, you imagine disaster. You create suffering before anything happens. Stress becomes the same. When you react with stress, you lose your clarity. You become overwhelmed, you make bad decisions, and later you realize it was not as serious as you made it in your mind. So, how do you stop reacting emotionally? You start by becoming aware. You notice the emotion. You don't fight it. You observe it. You breathe. You let it pass. You remind yourself, this will pass. This is temporary. I don't need to react. Then you choose your response. The response might be silence. The response might be walking away. The response might be calm words. The response might be patience. The response might be a boundary. The response might be letting go. But whatever your response is, it comes from awareness, not from impulse. This practice takes time. It takes discipline. It takes inner training. But every time you control your reaction, you become stronger. Every time you stay calm, you become wiser. Every time you choose peace over drama, you become freer. And the biggest reward is this. When you stop reacting emotionally, your life becomes simple. Your heart becomes light. Your mind becomes clear. You stop creating unnecessary suffering. You stop living in constant tension. You stop turning small issues into big pain. You start living with calm power. This is why Buddhism teaches that your mind is your greatest battlefield, not the world outside. The real battle is inside you. The real enemy is not people. The real enemy is your uncontrolled reactions. And once you win that battle, you become mentally strong, because your peace is your real power. No matter what happens outside, you stay steady. No matter who tries to provoke you, you remain calm. No matter how life changes, you adapt without breaking. This is true happiness. This is real mental strength. This is Buddhist freedom. So drop the habit of reacting emotionally to everything. Train your mind, protect your peace, guard your inner world like it is sacred, because it is. And the moment you do that, you will feel a new type of strength, quiet, deep, unshakable. Drop the fear of being alone. Solitude is where your mind becomes unbreakable. If you truly want to become mentally strong and genuinely happy, then you must let go of one fear that silently controls millions of people without them even realizing it, the fear of being alone. This fear is not always loud. It doesn't always show itself like panic. Sometimes it hides behind friendships that don't feel real anymore. Sometimes it hides behind relationships that you know are toxic. Sometimes it hides behind constant texting, constant scrolling, constant talking, constant noise because silence feels uncomfortable. But deep down the fear is the same. If I'm alone, what will happen to me? If no one is around, will I be okay? If I don't have someone, will I feel empty? In Buddhism, the fear of being alone is one of the biggest reasons people suffer, because it makes them cling to anything that gives them temporary comfort. They cling to people, they cling to attention, they cling to relationships, they cling to validation, they cling to distractions, they cling to social approval. But clinging never brings peace, it only brings more dependence. And dependence is the opposite of mental strength. A person who fears being alone will tolerate disrespect just to have company. They will stay in places they are not valued, just to feel included. They will accept crumbs of love, just to avoid emptiness. They will keep toxic people close, just so they don't have to face their own mind in silence. They will say yes when they want to say no. They will keep explaining themselves to people who don't care. They will chase attention even when it destroys their dignity, not because they are weak people, but because they are afraid of loneliness. But Buddhism teaches a powerful truth. Loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. Loneliness is when you feel empty inside, even when people are around. Solitude is when you are alone, but you feel complete. Loneliness is pain. Solitude is power. Loneliness comes from lack of connection with yourself. Solitude comes from deep connection with your own mind. Most people have never experienced real solitude because they don't know how to sit with themselves. They have never learned how to be their own friend. They have never learned how to be calm without someone distracting them. They have never learned how to feel safe within their own presence. This is why being alone feels scary. Because if you have never built a peaceful inner world, silence will feel like punishment. In Buddhism, the path to freedom always starts with facing yourself. You must face your thoughts, your emotions, your fears, your wounds, your cravings, your attachments. You must face what you have been running from, because the moment you stop running, your suffering starts ending. The fear of being alone is often connected to the fear of facing your own thoughts. When people are alone, their mind becomes loud. Regrets come, painful memories come, anxiety comes, questions about life come, and many people don't want to deal with that. So they distract themselves. They keep noise around them. They keep people around them. They keep entertainment around them, because distraction feels safer than inner silence. But Buddhism teaches that what you resist will always control you. If you resist solitude, solitude will feel like suffering. But if you embrace solitude, solitude becomes healing. It becomes a place where your mind finally rests, a place where your heart finally breathes, a place where your spirit finally returns to itself. Solitude is not a punishment. Solitude is a training ground. It is where mental strength is built, because when you are alone, you stop relying on external energy. You stop feeding your ego with attention. You stop needing people's approval to feel worthy. You stop chasing validation, and you start listening to yourself. A mentally strong person is not someone who always has people around them. A mentally strong person is someone who can stand alone without falling apart, someone who can sit in silence without feeling empty, someone who can be alone and still feel peaceful, because their happiness is no longer dependent on other people's presence. Their peace is internal. The reason solitude is powerful is because it forces you to see reality clearly. When you're always surrounded by people, you can escape your pain. You can escape your truth. But when you are alone, you have no escape. You cannot hide from your own mind. And at first, this feels uncomfortable. But this discomfort is exactly what heals you, because healing is not always soft. Sometimes healing is facing what you avoided. Sometimes healing is sitting with sadness until it loses its power. Sometimes healing is feeling your loneliness until it turns into strength. In Buddhism, meditation is a form of solitude. It is sitting with yourself, observing your mind, watching your thoughts like clouds passing through the sky. It is learning to remain still without reacting. And this practice teaches you something that changes your life. Your thoughts are not you. Your feelings are not you. Your fears are not you. They are passing states. And when you learn to sit with them, you stop being controlled by them. The fear of being alone also destroys happiness because it makes you desperate. It makes you hold on to people who don't respect you. It makes you beg for love. It makes you accept toxic relationships. It makes you chase those who don't choose you. It makes you tolerate emotional pain just to avoid silence. But Buddhism teaches that peace is more valuable than company, because company without peace is suffering. A relationship without peace is a prison. A friendship without respect is a burden. A connection that drains you is not a blessing. Many people think being alone is failure. They think, if I'm alone, something must be wrong with me. But Buddhism teaches that being alone can be a sign of growth. Because when you grow, you outgrow many people. When you become wise, you stop enjoying shallow connections. When you become disciplined, you stop enjoying distractions. When you become peaceful, you stop entertaining drama. And that is why your circle becomes smaller. Not because you are losing people, but because you are becoming selective. You are protecting your mind. A strong mind does not fear being alone because it knows how to create peace within itself. It knows how to enjoy its own presence. It knows how to build a life without begging people to fill emptiness. This is the kind of mental strength that cannot be broken. Solitude also helps you discover who you truly are. Because when you are always around people, you may start becoming what they expect. You may shape your personality based on approval. You may hide parts of yourself to fit in. You may suppress your truth just to stay accepted. But in solitude, you don't need to perform. You don't need to impress. You don't need to prove. You can just be. And that just being is spiritual freedom. Buddhism teaches that happiness comes from within, but most people don't know what that means because they have never been alone long enough to feel it. When you are alone, you start appreciating small things. A quiet morning, a peaceful breath, a simple meal, a calm mind, the sound of your own presence. You start finding joy in simplicity. And this is the deepest happiness because it does not depend on anyone. Solitude also makes you mentally disciplined because when no one is watching, you learn who you really are. You learn if you can stay focused without external motivation. You learn if you can work without praise. You learn if you can keep promises to yourself. You learn if you can stay consistent when nobody claps for you. And when you master that, your confidence becomes real. It becomes deep. It becomes unshakable. Because it is built on your character, not on attention. The fear of being alone is also the reason people keep returning to the same toxic cycles. They leave, then they come back. They cut someone off, then they return. They know they are being disrespected, but they stay. Why? Because loneliness feels heavier than pain. But Buddhism teaches something important. Temporary loneliness is better than permanent suffering. Being alone for a while may feel hard, but it heals you. Staying in toxic company feels comfortable at first, but it destroys you slowly. So if you want mental strength, you must learn to sit alone and not run. Sit with yourself and not panic. Sit with silence and not escape. At first, your mind will feel restless. It will bring old memories. It will bring fears. It will bring sadness. But if you keep sitting, you will notice something. Those thoughts lose power. That fear fades. That sadness becomes lighter. Because the mind calms down when you stop feeding it. This is why Buddhist monks spend time in silence. Not because they hate people, but because silence cleans the mind. It removes noise. It removes unnecessary desires. It removes ego. It reveals truth. Solitude is where you become emotionally independent, and emotional independence is real happiness. Because now you don't need someone to complete you. You don't need someone to save you. You don't need someone to validate you. You don't need someone to constantly be there. You are complete within yourself. You are stable within yourself. You are peaceful within yourself. And when you reach this level, something powerful happens. You stop begging for love. You stop chasing people, you stop forcing connections, you stop settling for less. Because now you realize you would rather be alone than be in a place that destroys your peace. That is mental strength, that is maturity, that is freedom. So drop the fear of being alone. Because the moment you stop fearing solitude, you become unstoppable. You become the kind of person who cannot be manipulated by loneliness. You become the kind of person who does not tolerate disrespect for attention. You become the kind of person who walks away from toxic people without looking back. You become the kind of person who builds quietly, grows silently, and rises strongly. In Buddhism, happiness is not found in crowds, it is found in peace. And peace is built in silence. Peace is built in awareness. Peace is built when you learn to be alone and still feel whole. So embrace solitude, not as loneliness, but as training, not as emptiness, but as healing, not as darkness, but as clarity, because solitude is where you meet your true self. And once you meet your true self, you will never feel weak again. Drop the need to please everyone. The more you try to make everyone happy, the more you lose yourself. If you want to become mentally strong and truly happy, you must let go of one habit that quietly destroys your identity, your confidence, and your peace: the need to please everyone. This is one of the most common reasons people feel mentally weak, emotionally drained, and unhappy even when they are doing everything right. Because when you live to please everyone, you are not living your life, you are living inside other people's expectations. In Buddhism, suffering is often created by attachment, and one of the strongest attachments is the attachment to being liked, the attachment to being accepted, the attachment to being seen as good. Many people don't even realize they are addicted to approval. They think they are simply kind, helpful, respectful, or caring. But deep inside there is a hidden fear. If I don't please them, they will leave. If I say no, they will get angry. If I speak my truth, they will judge me. If I stop doing everything for them, they will stop loving me. This fear becomes a prison. And slowly, the need to please everyone turns you into someone who is always tired, always overthinking, always sacrificing yourself, and always feeling unappreciated. People-pleasing is not kindness. It is self-abandonment. It is when you ignore your own needs to keep other people comfortable. It is when you force a smile, even when your heart is exhausted. It is when you say yes while your soul is screaming no. It is when you keep giving your energy to people who don't deserve it, just so they don't misunderstand you. And over time, you start losing yourself. This is why people-pleasers often feel mentally weak, because they don't live with freedom, they live with fear. They are always checking if everyone is happy. They are always worried about disappointing people. They are always trying to avoid conflict. They are always trying to keep peace outside, even if it destroys peace inside. But Buddhism teaches something very powerful. You cannot control how people feel. You can give them everything, and they will still complain. You can sacrifice for them, and they will still misunderstand you. You can help them, and they will still forget you. Because people's minds are unstable, their desires are endless. Their expectations keep increasing. So if you make your mission to please everyone, you will never rest, you will never feel enough, you will never feel complete. A people-pleaser often believes, if I keep everyone happy, I will be safe. But the truth is the opposite. The more you please everyone, the more people start using you. They start expecting more. They start taking you for granted. They start feeling entitled to your time, your energy, your kindness. And the moment you finally say no, they will act like you have changed. They will call you selfish. They will become angry. They will guilt-trip you, not because you are wrong, but because they were benefiting from your weakness. This is why Buddhism teaches detachment from praise and blame. A mentally strong person understands that praise and blame are both temporary. Today people praise you, tomorrow they criticize you. Today they love you, tomorrow they doubt you. So if your peace depends on what they say, your peace will always be unstable. When you try to please everyone, you also create constant anxiety, because you are always thinking, did I upset them? Did I say the wrong thing? Do they think badly of me? Should I explain myself again? Should I fix it? This mental noise becomes endless, and it steals your happiness. You become mentally tired not because life is hard, but because you are living under emotional pressure every day. Buddhism teaches mindfulness and self-awareness. And self-awareness shows you something important. The need to please everyone is ego-based. It comes from the ego's desire to be liked. The ego's fear of rejection, the ego's fear of being seen as bad. But your true self does not need approval. Your true self needs peace. Your true self needs honesty. Your true self needs alignment. A mentally strong person is still kind, still respectful, still loving, but they are not desperate. They don't sacrifice their dignity to keep people comfortable. They don't abandon themselves to avoid conflict. They understand that sometimes pleasing people will cost you your peace, and peace is more valuable than being liked. This lesson becomes even more powerful when you understand this truth. You can be the sweetest person, and people will still find a reason to dislike you. You can be loyal, and some will still betray you. You can be honest, and some will still misunderstand you. You can be peaceful, and some will still try to provoke you. This is life. So if you keep trying to please everyone, you are chasing something impossible. You are chasing a perfect image, a perfect reputation, a perfect acceptance. But Buddhism teaches that all of these are illusions. One of the biggest signs that you are addicted to pleasing people is that you feel guilty when you choose yourself. You feel guilty when you rest. You feel guilty when you say no. You feel guilty when you set boundaries. You feel guilty when you stop replying fast. You feel guilty when you do what is right for you. And this guilt is not love. It is conditioning. It is the result of years of being trained to believe that your value comes from how much you sacrifice. But Buddhism teaches a different way. It teaches compassion, but not self-destruction. It teaches kindness, but not weakness. It teaches love, but not attachment. Compassion includes you too. Your peace matters too. Your heart matters too. Your time matters too. Your mental health matters too. The moment you stop pleasing everyone, your life starts changing. At first, it may feel uncomfortable, because people-pleasing is a habit, and habits feel safe even when they harm you. But once you break the habit, you start feeling stronger. You start respecting yourself. You start speaking with confidence. You start making decisions without fear. You stop over-explaining. You stop apologizing for existing. And then something happens. The wrong people start leaving. The users start getting angry. The manipulators start showing their true face. The ones who only loved you when you were useful start disappearing. And that is not a loss. That is a blessing. Because now your life becomes lighter. Now your circle becomes real. Now your peace becomes protected. Buddhism teaches that your energy is sacred. Your attention is sacred. Your time is sacred. And when you waste it trying to please everyone, you lose your own life. But when you protect it, you start building a stronger mind. You must understand, you were not born to live for people. You were born to live with awareness, to live with peace, to live with purpose. The moment you stop living for everyone else, you finally begin living for yourself. And that is where true happiness begins. To drop the need to please everyone, you must practice boundaries. Boundaries are not hate. Boundaries are not arrogance. Boundaries are self-respect. Boundaries are clarity. Boundaries are saying, I care about you, but I will not lose myself. Boundaries are saying, I can help, but I will not destroy my peace. Boundaries are saying, I love, but I will not beg. When you build boundaries, you become mentally strong, because now you are no longer controlled by guilt. You are no longer controlled by people's moods. You are no longer controlled by fear. You become calm and stable. You become someone who can stand alone without begging for acceptance. And this is the Buddhist truth. You cannot lose yourself just to keep everyone else comfortable, because the more you lose yourself, the more you suffer. But the moment you choose yourself, you rise. So let go of pleasing everyone. Let go of the constant need to be liked. Let go of the fear of disappointing people, because peace is not found in being approved. Peace is found in being free. And when you finally become free, you will feel something you have never felt before. A happiness that does not depend on anyone. A calm mind that cannot be shaken. A quiet confidence that doesn't need validation. A mental strength that comes from within. That is real happiness. That is mental power. That is the Buddhist path. Drop the belief that happiness must be perfect. Peace begins when you stop fighting life. If you truly want to become mentally strong and genuinely happy, then you must let go of one belief that silently destroys millions of people every single day. The belief that happiness must look perfect. The belief that your life must be smooth for you to be calm. The belief that nothing should go wrong for you to feel okay. The belief that happiness is only possible when everything is fixed, everyone understands you, everything works out, and nothing hurts. This belief is one of the biggest causes of suffering because it makes you fight reality. It makes you reject life the moment it becomes uncomfortable. It makes you panic whenever there is pain. It makes you feel like something is wrong with your life whenever you struggle. And because struggle is a natural part of life, you end up suffering constantly, not because life is always terrible, but because you keep demanding life to be something it was never meant to be. In Buddhism, one of the clearest truths is this: life includes suffering, not because life is cruel, but because life is change. Life is impermanence. Life is uncertainty. Life is gaining and losing. Life is meeting and separating. Life is success and failure. Life is pleasure and pain. And if you expect life to be perfect, you will always feel disappointed. You will always feel like you are falling behind. You will always feel like you are not doing enough. But when you accept life as it is, you stop suffering unnecessarily. Many people don't understand this. They chase happiness like a final destination. They say, when I get money, I will be happy. When I find love, I will be happy. When my problems end, I will be happy. When I become successful, I will finally relax. But Buddhism teaches that this mindset is a trap, because as long as you believe happiness is somewhere in the future, you will miss the peace that is available right now. A person who believes happiness must be perfect will always be at war with life. They will always be complaining, always resisting, always feeling stressed, always trying to fix everything. And the more they try to fix everything, the more they realize that life never stops changing. Even when one problem ends, another challenge comes. Even when one desire is fulfilled, another desire appears. And this creates endless dissatisfaction. In Buddhism, this is called craving. Craving is the constant hunger of the mind that says, not enough, more, better, faster, perfect. And craving destroys happiness because it never allows you to feel content. Even when you have something good, the mind says, but what if I lose it? Even when life becomes peaceful, the mind says, but what if something goes wrong? This is not happiness. This is fear disguised as ambition. The truth is, happiness is not a perfect life. Happiness is a peaceful mind inside an imperfect life. If you look closely, most people suffer not because of the pain itself, but because of the meaning they give to pain. They think pain means failure. They think struggle means they are weak. They think sadness means life is unfair. They think problems mean they are cursed. But Buddhism teaches that pain is part of growth. Pain is part of learning. Pain is part of being human. A tree grows through storms. A mountain becomes strong through pressure. A mind becomes powerful through challenge. But the person who expects perfection will never grow, because they will always run away from difficulty. They will always look for comfort. They will always avoid discomfort. And because real growth requires discomfort, they remain mentally weak. Mental strength is accepting that life will not always feel good and still remaining calm. Mental strength is understanding that bad days do not mean a bad life. Mental strength is knowing that pain is temporary and it does not define you. Mental strength is staying patient when things take time. This is what Buddhism teaches: patience, acceptance, and awareness. This lesson is very deep because most people think happiness is excitement. They think happiness means constant smiling, constant fun, constant achievements, constant pleasure. But Buddhism teaches that true happiness is calmness. True happiness is inner peace. True happiness is feeling okay even when you don't have everything. Feeling grateful even when life is not perfect. Feeling stable even when things go wrong. When you drop the belief that happiness must be perfect, you stop being disappointed by small things. You stop being angry when life changes. You stop panicking when problems come. You stop thinking, "Why me?" and you start thinking, "This is life." That shift makes you free. In Buddhism, acceptance is not weakness. Acceptance is clarity. It is understanding that what is happening is happening. Whether you like it or not, it already happened. Resistance only creates extra suffering. You cannot change the past by overthinking. You cannot fix everything by worrying. You cannot remove pain by complaining. But you can remove the extra suffering your mind adds to the pain. This is why Buddha taught the concept of the second arrow. The first arrow is the pain you experience naturally. The second arrow is the suffering you create in your mind by resisting, complaining, overthinking, and attaching. Most people are not only hit by one arrow, they shoot themselves with the second arrow every single day. They make the situation worse by their own thoughts. They turn one problem into 1,000 problems in their mind. They turn one difficult moment into weeks of stress. They turn one mistake into self-hatred. And this second arrow is optional. You can drop it. To drop the belief that happiness must be perfect, you must change your relationship with discomfort. You must stop seeing discomfort as the enemy. Discomfort is not your enemy. Discomfort is your teacher. It shows you what you need to improve. It shows you what you need to heal. It shows you where you are still attached. It shows you where your ego is still controlling you. For example, when life becomes uncertain, instead of panicking, you can learn trust. When people disappoint you, instead of collapsing, you can learn detachment. When plans fail, instead of giving up, you can learn resilience. When you feel lonely, instead of suffering, you can learn solitude. When you fail, instead of feeling shame, you can learn humility and growth. This is mental strength. A mentally strong person does not demand life to be easy. They build themselves to handle difficulty. They don't beg life for comfort. They train their mind for stability. And this mindset changes everything. When you accept that happiness does not require perfection, you stop waiting for the perfect time. You stop waiting for everything to be fixed. You stop delaying your peace. You start living now. You start appreciating now. You start finding joy in small things: a breath, a quiet morning, a simple meal, a calm walk, a peaceful moment. Buddhism teaches that the present moment is the only place where life exists. The past is memory, the future is imagination, but now is real. So if you keep thinking happiness is in the future, you will miss the only moment you truly have. This lesson is also powerful because it breaks the false idea that strong people never struggle. Everyone struggles, everyone suffers, everyone faces challenges. The difference is how they relate to it. Weak minds resist, strong minds accept and adapt. Weak minds complain, strong minds learn and grow. Weak minds collapse, strong minds breathe and continue. When you drop the belief that happiness must be perfect, you stop being angry at life. You stop being disappointed by reality. You stop feeling like you are constantly failing. You start seeing life as a journey, not a test. You start understanding that every experience is part of your growth. And here is the biggest truth Buddhism teaches. You can be at peace even while life is imperfect. You can be calm even while things are unfinished. You can be happy even while you are still building. You can smile even while you are healing. You can be grateful even while you are struggling. This is not fake positivity. This is wisdom. Because peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the absence of inner resistance. So drop the belief that happiness must be perfect. Drop the mindset that life must always go your way for you to feel okay. Drop the expectation that pain should not exist. Pain will exist. Problems will exist. Change will exist. But your peace can still exist if you stop fighting reality. And once you stop fighting life, you will feel a new type of happiness, quiet, deep, stable. The kind of happiness that doesn't disappear when life changes. The kind of happiness that doesn't depend on perfect conditions. The kind of happiness that comes from inside. That is true Buddhist happiness. That is real mental strength. That is freedom. Drop the need to be busy all the time. A restless life creates a restless mind. If you want to become mentally strong and truly happy, you must let go of one habit that looks normal in today's world, but slowly destroys your peace from the inside. The need to always stay busy. Many people think being busy means they are productive. They think being busy means they are strong. They think being busy means they are improving. But Buddhism teaches something very different. A restless life creates a restless mind. And a restless mind cannot feel true happiness, no matter how successful the person becomes. In today's world, people have become addicted to constant movement. If they are not working, they are scrolling. If they are not scrolling, they are talking. If they are not talking, they are watching something. If they are not watching, they are worrying. Their mind is always running, always chasing, always reacting, always consuming. And because of that, they rarely feel peace. They rarely feel deep happiness. They rarely feel mentally strong. They feel distracted, anxious, and tired, even when nothing major is wrong in their life. Buddhism teaches that the mind becomes calm through stillness, not through constant activity, not through constant noise. Stillness is where clarity is born. Stillness is where wisdom appears. Stillness is where the heart heals. But a person who is addicted to busyness cannot stay still. The moment they sit in silence, they feel uncomfortable. The moment there is nothing to do, their mind starts screaming. They feel restless. They feel bored. They feel empty. And because they don't know how to sit with themselves, they run back to activity. This is why busyness becomes a trap. It becomes a way to escape yourself. Many people are not busy because they love their work. They are busy because they don't want to face their emotions. They don't want to feel loneliness. They don't want to feel sadness. They don't want to face their true thoughts. So they keep themselves occupied. They keep themselves distracted, because distraction feels easier than awareness. But Buddhism teaches that what you avoid will control you. If you avoid your own mind, your mind will become your biggest enemy. If you avoid stillness, stillness will feel like suffering. If you avoid silence, silence will feel like fear. But if you face silence, silence becomes your medicine. It becomes your power. A mentally weak person often needs constant stimulation to feel okay. They need people around them. They need conversations. They need entertainment. They need social media. They need noise. They need movement. Because when all of that disappears, they feel empty. They feel lost. They feel uncomfortable. But a mentally strong person is different. A mentally strong person can sit alone in silence and still feel stable. They can rest without guilt. They can be still without feeling useless. They can breathe without needing to escape. In Buddhism, inner peace is not something you find by doing more. It is something you find by understanding your mind. And you cannot understand your mind if you never slow down. If you are always rushing, your mind becomes like muddy water. You cannot see clearly. Your thoughts become confused. Your emotions become heavy. Your decisions become impulsive. Your energy becomes weak. But when you slow down, the mind becomes clear, like still water. You can see what is happening inside you. You can observe your thoughts. You can recognize your attachments. You can heal your wounds. Busyness also creates suffering because it makes people feel like they are always behind. They wake up already stressed. They sleep feeling guilty. They run from one task to another without peace. And even when they achieve something, they cannot enjoy it, because they are already thinking about the next thing. Their mind never celebrates. It never rests. It never feels satisfied. This is why many successful people feel empty, because success does not give peace if the mind is restless. Buddhism teaches contentment. Contentment does not mean you stop improving. It means you stop living like your worth depends on constant achievement. It means you stop feeling like you must prove yourself every day. It means you stop treating rest like laziness, because rest is not weakness. Rest is wisdom. Rest is necessary. A mind that never rests becomes fragile. It becomes easily triggered, easily emotional, easily angry, easily anxious. And that is not strength. Another reason the need to stay busy destroys happiness is because it disconnects you from the present moment. You stop enjoying small things. You stop feeling gratitude. You stop noticing beauty. You stop feeling alive. You are physically present, but mentally you are always somewhere else, thinking about tomorrow, worrying about problems, planning the future, replaying the past. And Buddhism teaches that this is the greatest loss, missing your life while you are living it. In Buddhism, the present moment is sacred. The breath is sacred. Awareness is sacred. The simple act of sitting quietly and observing your mind is sacred, because in that quiet space, you reconnect with reality. You reconnect with your heart. You reconnect with peace. But busyness steals that space. It keeps you distracted. It keeps you numb. Many people think they are strong because they handle many responsibilities. But real strength is not doing everything. Real strength is knowing when to stop, knowing when to breathe, knowing when to rest, knowing when to disconnect, knowing when to choose peace over pressure. A person who never stops is not strong. They are just surviving. Buddhism teaches the middle way. Balance. Not extreme laziness, but not extreme busyness either, because both extremes create suffering. Extreme laziness creates stagnation. Extreme busyness creates burnout. The middle way creates peace. It creates steady progress. It creates a life where you grow without destroying yourself. The need to stay busy also affects relationships. Many people are physically with others, but mentally absent. They are always checking their phone, always thinking about work, always distracted. They cannot truly listen. They cannot truly connect. They cannot truly love. They are always busy, and the people around them feel it. Their relationships become shallow, their heart becomes distant, and happiness becomes harder because happiness grows through presence, not through constant rushing. To become mentally strong and happy, you must learn to slow down. You must learn to be still. You must learn to be quiet without fear. You must learn to sit with yourself without running away. At first, it will feel uncomfortable because you are not used to silence. But that discomfort is where healing begins. That discomfort is where awareness grows, because it is in stillness that you finally hear your own mind clearly. One of the most powerful Buddhist practices is mindful breathing, just sitting and breathing, slowly, deeply, calmly, watching the inhale, watching the exhale, feeling the air entering the body, feeling it leaving. This practice may look simple, but it is life-changing, because it trains your mind to stop chasing. It trains your mind to stop rushing. It trains your mind to return to now. And when you return to now, you return to peace. You must understand, the world will always demand more from you. There will always be more work, more responsibilities, more problems, more distractions, more noise, more pressure. But you have a choice. You can either live as a slave to busyness, or you can live with awareness. You can either keep running until you break, or you can slow down and become strong. Mental strength is not found in doing more. Mental strength is found in being calm, in being steady, in being mindful, in being present. Because when your mind is calm, nothing can destroy you easily. Even problems become easier to handle. Even stress becomes lighter. Even pain becomes manageable, because your mind is stable. And this is the deepest truth. Happiness is not found in a busy life. Happiness is found in a peaceful mind. A peaceful mind is built through stillness, through silence, through presence, through balance. So drop the need to always stay busy. Drop the belief that rest is laziness. Drop the addiction to constant stimulation. Choose stillness, choose calm, choose balance. Because the moment your mind becomes still, your life becomes clear. And when your life becomes clear, happiness becomes natural. That is Buddhist strength. That is real peace. That is true mental power. Drop the habit of living in the past. Your mind cannot move forward while your heart keeps looking back. If you want to become mentally strong and truly happy, you must let go of one habit that silently keeps millions of people stuck, living in the past. This is not just remembering memories. This is not just thinking about yesterday sometimes. Living in the past means your mind keeps returning to what happened, again and again, until the past starts controlling your present. It means you replay old pain in your head. You carry old regrets in your heart. You relive old mistakes, like they define who you are. And without realizing it, you become mentally trapped because your body is here, but your heart is still there. In Buddhism, this is one of the clearest causes of suffering. Because the past is finished, but attachment to the past keeps it alive inside you. The past becomes a heavy chain, not because it is still happening, but because you keep holding on to it. You keep reopening the wound. You keep feeding the regret. You keep repeating the memory. And every time you do that, you suffer again. Not because life is hurting you now, but because your mind keeps bringing pain back to life. Many people don't understand how powerful this is. They think they are just thinking. They think they are just remembering. But the truth is, they are reliving. They are reliving heartbreak, reliving betrayal, reliving embarrassment, reliving trauma, reliving loss. And the mind does not know the difference between memory and reality. If you replay pain deeply enough, your body responds as if it is happening now. Your chest becomes heavy, your stomach tightens, your breathing changes, your mood drops. Your mind becomes anxious, and you lose peace. This is why people feel mentally weak, because they are constantly fighting ghosts. They are constantly battling things that already ended. They are constantly hurting themselves with memories that cannot be changed. Living in the past shows up in different ways. Sometimes it shows up as regret. I should have done better. I should have worked harder. I should have left earlier. I should have spoken up. I wasted my time. This regret becomes a poison because it turns your mind against yourself. You start judging yourself harshly. You start feeling shame. You start believing you are a failure. But Buddhism teaches that regret without wisdom is suffering. If you keep blaming yourself for the past, you will never grow. You will only stay stuck. Sometimes living in the past shows up as anger. How could they do that to me? Why did they betray me? Why did life treat me unfairly? And you keep holding anger, like it gives you power. But Buddhism teaches the opposite. Anger does not punish them. Anger punishes you. It burns your heart. It steals your sleep. It disturbs your peace. It keeps you emotionally heavy. It makes you bitter. And the longer you hold it, the more it becomes part of your personality. Sometimes living in the past shows up as sadness. I miss who I used to be. I miss the old days. I miss that person. I miss when life was simple. And sadness is natural, but attachment to sadness becomes suffering. Because you start refusing the present. You start refusing change. You start refusing reality. And Buddhism teaches that everything changes. People change. Life changes. Time changes. So clinging to the past is like trying to hold water in your hand. The more you hold, the more you lose. And the more you lose, the more you suffer. Another dangerous way living in the past shows up is through shame. Some people carry shame for years. They feel ashamed of mistakes, ashamed of bad choices, ashamed of things they said or did. And shame makes them feel unworthy. It makes them hide. It makes them feel like they don't deserve happiness. But Buddhism teaches compassion. It teaches that every human makes mistakes. Every human falls. Every human learns through pain. The mistake is not the end. The lesson is the beginning. But when you attach to shame, you turn one mistake into a lifetime punishment. Mental strength is not pretending the past never happened. Mental strength is learning from the past without living inside it. It is accepting what happened and choosing to move forward. It is saying, yes, I was hurt, but I will not bleed forever. It is saying, yes, I made mistakes, but I will not stay trapped in guilt. It is saying, yes, I lost something, but I will not lose myself too. Buddhism teaches impermanence. Everything changes, and the past is already gone. Holding on to it will not bring it back. It will only steal the present from you. And the present moment is the only place where peace exists. The past is memory. The future is imagination. But the present is real. This is why mindfulness is so important in Buddhism. Mindfulness means being here. It means noticing your breath, your body, your thoughts, your feelings. And when your mind tries to run back to the past, you gently bring it back, not with force, not with anger, with kindness, with awareness. Like training a child, you keep guiding yourself back to now. Many people keep living in the past because they think it will protect them. They think, if I remember the pain, I won't get hurt again. But this is not true protection. This is self-punishment. Real protection comes from wisdom, not from emotional scars. Wisdom says, I learned my lesson. Wisdom says, I will set boundaries now. Wisdom says, I will choose better now. Wisdom says, I will protect my peace now. You don't need to replay pain to protect yourself. You need to learn and move forward. Living in the past also stops you from enjoying blessings. It makes you blind to good things in front of you. It makes you miss opportunities. It makes you miss love. It makes you miss growth, because your mind is too busy thinking about what went wrong before. And this is why Buddhism teaches letting go. Letting go is not forgetting. Letting go is releasing attachment. It means you stop holding something that is hurting you. It means you stop carrying a heavy stone in your heart. It means you allow yourself to be free. The past will always exist as a memory, but it does not need to exist as a wound. Your story does not need to be your prison. Your pain does not need to become your personality. You must understand. The person you were in the past was doing their best with the mind they had at that time. Maybe you were not wise yet. Maybe you were not healed yet. Maybe you were not strong yet. But you learned. And growth means you are not the same person anymore. So why are you punishing your present self for the mistakes of your past self? Buddhism teaches compassion for yourself, because if you cannot forgive yourself, your mind will never rest. Forgiving yourself does not mean pretending your mistakes were okay. It means you accept them, learn, and move forward. It means you stop carrying guilt like it is your identity. To drop living in the past, you must start practicing acceptance. Acceptance is not saying, "I wanted this." Acceptance is saying, "This happened." And when you accept, you stop fighting. You stop resisting. You stop wishing things were different. You stop breaking yourself with, "What if?" Because what if is the mind's torture. It creates endless suffering. What if I did this? What if I did that? What if I chose differently? But the truth is, you cannot rewrite yesterday. You can only build today. And today is powerful. Today is where healing starts. Today is where peace begins. Today is where you can choose a new direction. This lesson is deeply connected to happiness, because happiness cannot grow in a mind that keeps looking backward. A mind that keeps looking backward is always heavy, always regretful, always sad, always sad. But a mind that looks forward becomes lighter. It becomes hopeful. It becomes free. In Buddhism, they say the mind is like a candle flame. If the wind keeps hitting it, it flickers. The wind is the past. The wind is memory. The wind is regret. The wind is attachment. But when the flame is protected by awareness, it becomes steady. That steady flame is peace. That steady flame is happiness. So drop the habit of living in the past. Stop replaying pain that is already over. Stop punishing yourself with guilt. Stop holding anger like it is strength. Release it. Learn from it. Thank it for the lesson. And move forward. Because your mind cannot move forward while your heart keeps looking back. And the moment you finally release the past, you will feel something rare. Space, lightness, calmness, freedom. That is mental strength. That is true happiness. That is the Buddhist path. Now listen carefully. Mental strength is not something you are born with. Mental strength is something you build, and in Buddhism, you don't build it by fighting the world. You build it by letting go of what is destroying you from the inside. Because most of your suffering is not coming from life itself. It is coming from what you keep holding on to. You hold on to people who drain your peace, and you wonder why your heart feels heavy. You hold on to control, and you wonder why your mind feels anxious. You hold on to the need to be understood, and you wonder why you feel disappointed. You hold on to comparison, and you wonder why you feel behind. You hold on to ego, and you wonder why you can't relax. You hold on to painful memories, and you wonder why you can't move forward. You hold on to validation, and you wonder why you feel empty. You hold on to emotional reactions, and you wonder why life feels like a constant battle. But the moment you start dropping these things, everything changes. Your mind becomes lighter. Your heart becomes calmer. Your sleep becomes deeper. Your focus becomes stronger. your confidence becomes real, and your happiness becomes natural. Because happiness is not getting everything you want. Happiness is removing what is stealing your peace. And mental strength is not proving yourself to the world. Mental strength is becoming so stable inside that nothing outside can easily break you. So take this message as your reminder. You don't need to fix the entire world to feel peace. You only need to fix what you allow inside your mind. You only need to protect your energy. You only need to release what no longer serves you. Let go. Not because you are weak, but because you are ready to be free. And when you finally live with that freedom, you will understand the real Buddhist power. The strongest person is not the one who controls everything. It is the one who has mastered their own mind.